My son texted me at 9:30 on a Tuesday morning saying he and his fiancée had decided to sell my house to fund their wedding, and I could move into their basement. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. I read that text 3 times. Then I laughed out loud in my kitchen. I laughed so hard I had to sit down, because my son had no idea that the house he planned to sell wasn't actually mine anymore. Let me explain how we got here. I'm 72 years old. I worked as a nurse for 46 years, mostly night shifts in the ICU. I raised 2 boys after my husband left when they were 6 and 8. He decided family life wasn't for him and moved to Colorado with a woman he met at a sales conference. I got a divorce, full custody, and a child support check that showed up maybe half the time. I bought this house when the boys were in elementary school. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a backyard with a swing set. I paid $240,000 for it in 1995. It was a stretch on a nurse's salary, but I made it work. I took every overtime shift available. I did private duty nursing on my days off. I skipped vacations and drove used cars and bought clothes at thrift stores. The boys had everything they needed: sports leagues, band instruments, class trips. I put both of them through state university. My older son, Marcus, got a degree in business. My younger son, Tyler, the one who sent me that text, got a degree in communications and barely graduated because he spent more time partying than studying. Marcus became a financial advisor. He's married with 3 kids, lives 2 hours away, calls me every Sunday. Tyler bounced between jobs for years. Sales positions mostly. The kind where you're technically an independent contractor and have to buy your own leads. He's 34 now and just got engaged to a woman named Brittany, who's 26 and works as a social media influencer. She has 40,000 followers and posts videos about luxury lifestyle content while living in a rented apartment. They got engaged 4 months ago. Tyler called me excited, said Brittany was the one, showed me the ring over FaceTime. 3 carats, cushion cut. I asked how much it cost. He said don't worry about it, which meant he couldn't afford it. 2 weeks after the engagement, they came over for Sunday dinner. They had news, Tyler said. They'd set a date for next summer, and they were so excited to start planning. Brittany opened her phone and showed me her Pinterest board. 250 guests, ceremony at a vineyard, reception with a live band and a champagne tower, dress by Vera Wang, destination bachelor, and bachelorette parties. I made appropriate congratulations noises. I asked if they'd set a budget. Brittany laughed and said, "You can't put a price on the most important day of your life." She said her parents were contributing $20,000. She looked at Tyler expectantly. Tyler looked at me. He said traditionally the groom's family pays for certain things: the rehearsal dinner, the bar, some other expenses. He was wondering what I might be able to contribute. I said I'd be happy to help within my means, maybe $5,000. The energy in the room changed. Brittany's smile got tight. Tyler said $5,000 wouldn't even cover the photography. They were looking at a $75,000 wedding. Didn't I want to be part of making their day special? I said I'd raised him on a nurse's salary as a single mother. $5,000 was generous, and it was what I could afford. Brittany excused herself to use the bathroom. Tyler leaned across the table. He said I was being unreasonable. I lived alone in a 3-bedroom house that was worth at least $600,000 now. I was sitting on equity and refusing to help my own son. I reminded him I'd paid for his entire college education, while his father contributed nothing. I'd given him $10,000 for a down payment on his first car. I'd loaned him money at least a dozen times over the years, none of which had been repaid. He said that was different. This was his wedding, a once-in-a-lifetime event. And anyway, what did I need all this space for? I should downsize. It would make more sense financially. I told him my housing decisions were my own business. Brittany came back. They left shortly after. The dinner I'd spent 3 hours cooking sat half-eaten on the table. Over the next few weeks, Tyler brought it up in every conversation. He'd text me links to articles about elderly people downsizing. He'd send me listings for condos and active adult communities. He said I should really think about my future. What if I fell? What if I needed care? Wouldn't it be better to liquidate my assets now, while I could enjoy the money? I stopped responding to most of his messages. Then a month ago, Marcus called me. He said Tyler had reached out to him asking if Marcus thought I'd be willing to sell the house. Tyler told Marcus that he and Brittany had come up with a solution that worked for everyone. They'd buy my house at market value. I could live with them rent-free. They'd use the proceeds to pay for the wedding and put a down payment on a bigger place, where I'd have my own suite in the basement. Ground floor entry, full bathroom, small kitchenette. I wouldn't have to worry about home maintenance or property taxes anymore. Marcus asked what I thought about this idea. I asked what he'd told Tyler. Marcus said he told Tyler that I was a grown woman, capable of making my own decisions, and Tyler needed to talk to me directly instead of going through intermediaries. Then Marcus asked me point blank if Tyler was harassing me about my house. I said it was getting uncomfortable. Marcus was quiet for a minute. Then he said I needed to shut this down hard. Tyler had always been entitled, but this was outrageous. I should tell Tyler the house situation was handled and he needed to drop it. I said I would, but I didn't get the chance because that's when I got the text message. It came at 9:30 on a Tuesday morning. I was having coffee and doing the crossword puzzle. My phone buzzed. I picked it up. The message said, "Mom, Brittany and I have been talking to a real estate agent. We're planning to list your house in the next few weeks. We found you a great basement suite in the house we're buying in Maplewood. Ground floor entry, like we discussed. You'll love it. We can move you in right after the wedding. Talk soon." No question, no request, just an announcement that they decided to sell my house. I read it 3 times. Then I started laughing. I laughed so hard I had tears running down my face. Because 18 months ago, I'd transferred ownership of this house to an irrevocable trust. Let me back up and explain why. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Early stage, highly treatable. I had a lumpectomy and radiation. My prognosis was excellent, but it made me think about mortality and estate planning in a way I hadn't before. I met with an estate attorney named Dorothy Huang. She was referred by a friend from the hospital. I told her I wanted to make sure my affairs were in order. I had this house, some savings, a pension, and life insurance. I wanted to divide everything fairly between my 2 sons. Dorothy asked about my sons. I told her about Marcus and his stable life and his 3 kids. I told her about Tyler and his job hopping and his string of expensive girlfriends and his tendency to ask me for money. Dorothy said something I'll never forget. She said I needed to protect my assets from myself. I didn't understand what she meant. She explained that many parents, especially mothers, have trouble saying no to their children, even when the children are adults making unreasonable demands. The best way to protect myself was to put my major assets somewhere I legally couldn't touch them, even if I was pressured to. She recommended setting up an irrevocable trust. I'd transfer the house into the trust. I'd be the beneficiary with the right to live there for the rest of my life. When I died, the house would go to my sons equally. But while I was alive, I couldn't sell it, mortgage it, or sign it over to anyone. It would be legally impossible. I asked what this would cost. She said about $4,000 in legal fees. But it would save me from making a decision under duress that I'd regret later. I thought about it for 2 weeks. Then I did it. The house was transferred to the Tyler and Marcus Richardson Family Trust in July 2 years ago. I was listed as the trustee and lifetime beneficiary. Dorothy was listed as the successor trustee in case I became incapacitated. The trust document specified that upon my death, the property would be sold and proceeds divided equally between my sons. I didn't tell Tyler or Marcus. There was no reason to. It didn't change anything about how I lived. I still paid the property taxes and maintained the house. I just couldn't sell it anymore. And now Tyler wanted to sell a house he thought was mine, but actually belonged to a trust. I called Dorothy. I told her what happened. I read her the text message. She asked if Tyler had any documentation showing I'd agreed to this. I said no. This was the first I'd heard of it being presented as a done deal. Dorothy said I had a few options. I could ignore the text and wait for Tyler to figure out on his own that he couldn't sell a house he didn't own and I couldn't transfer. Or I could tell him now that the house was in an irrevocable trust and unavailable. I asked which she recommended. She said that depended on whether I wanted to preserve the relationship or set a boundary that couldn't be misunderstood. I said I wanted him to understand this was never happening. Dorothy said, then I should tell him clearly. She drafted a response for me to review. I read it. I made a few edits. Then I sent it to Tyler. The message said, Tyler, I received your text about selling my house. That won't be possible. The house was transferred to an irrevocable trust 18 months ago for estate planning purposes. I am the lifetime beneficiary, but I no longer own the property and cannot sell it. You'll need to fund your wedding another way. Mom. I hit send. Then I poured myself another cup of coffee and waited. The phone rang 4 minutes later. Tyler. I let it go to voicemail. He called 6 more times. I didn't answer. Then the text started. What do you mean a trust? You can't do that without telling us. You need to undo this. Call the lawyer. Brittany is crying. You're ruining our wedding. This is so selfish. I didn't respond to any of them. An hour later, Brittany called from her phone. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail saying I clearly didn't understand how trusts worked, and they were reversible, and I just needed to sign some papers, and everything would be fine. She'd already talked to a lawyer friend who said this was easy to fix. I texted back, irrevocable means it cannot be revoked. The house is not available. Please stop contacting me about this. Tyler called from Brittany's phone. I answered this time. He was furious. He said I'd sabotaged his future. I'd put his house in a trust to spite him. I'd always loved Marcus more, and this proved it. I said the trust benefited both my sons equally and had nothing to do with spite. I'd made a sound estate planning decision with my attorney. He said I could undo it if I wanted to. I was just being difficult. I said irrevocable means permanent. I legally could not sell the house even if I wanted to. He said that was insane. What if I needed to move? What if I needed the money? I said I'd planned for those contingencies. I had savings and insurance. The house was protected. Brittany got on the phone. She said I was being unreasonable. They'd already talked to a real estate agent. They'd already picked out their new house. They'd already told the wedding planner they could afford the vineyard venue. I was making them look like fools. I said they'd made assumptions without consulting me. That wasn't my fault. Brittany said, what kind of mother doesn't want to contribute to her son's happiness? I said the kind who already put him through college, helped him with cars and rent and various emergencies over the years, and offered $5,000 toward a wedding I could actually afford. She said $5,000 was insulting. I said, then don't accept it. Tyler grabbed the phone back. He said, fine. If that's how I wanted to be, fine. But I shouldn't expect to be invited to the wedding, and I shouldn't expect to be part of their lives going forward. He'd remember this. I said that was his choice to make. He hung up. I sat there for a few minutes. My hands were shaking a little, but I wasn't upset. I was relieved. The conversation I'd been dreading was over. Marcus called that evening. Tyler had called him ranting about the trust. Marcus wanted to know if it was true. I said yes. I'd put the house in an irrevocable trust 18 months ago. Marcus asked why I hadn't mentioned it. I said it didn't affect anything. When I died, he and Tyler would inherit equally, like always. I just couldn't sell the property while I was alive. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said that was brilliant. He asked if I'd done it because of Tyler. I said I'd done it because my estate attorney recommended it, and it made sense. Marcus said he understood completely. He said Tyler had called him asking if Marcus would talk me into reversing the trust. Marcus had told him no. I thanked him. Marcus said I didn't need to thank him for supporting my right to make my own financial decisions. He said Tyler was out of line and had been for months. The basement suite idea was insulting. The assumption that I'd sell my house for a wedding was absurd. I said I appreciated his support. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. Better than fine, actually. We talked for a while longer. He told me about his kids and his work. Normal things. It was nice. The next few weeks were quiet. Tyler didn't contact me. I didn't contact him. Then 2 months ago, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. It was Brittany's mother, Carol. She introduced herself and said she was calling about the wedding situation. She understood there had been some family tension. She was hoping we could resolve it because Brittany was very stressed, and it was affecting the planning process. I said I wasn't aware there was anything to resolve. I'd offered to contribute what I could afford. Tyler had declined. Carol said she'd heard about the trust situation. She said it seemed like there might be some miscommunication. Surely if I explained to my lawyer that I needed to access the home equity, something could be worked out. I said no. The trust was irrevocable by design. Carol said she didn't understand why I'd do something like that. It seemed designed to prevent me from helping my children. I said it was designed to protect my assets for estate planning purposes. Carol said it seemed selfish. I said my financial planning was not her concern. Carol's tone changed. She said Brittany and Tyler were starting their lives together. They deserved support from family. The least I could do was try to find a solution. I said I'd offered $5,000. That was my solution. Carol said $5,000 barely covered the flowers. I said then perhaps they should reconsider their budget. She said I clearly didn't understand what weddings cost these days. I said I understood that people spend what they can afford, and expecting parents to go into debt or liquidate assets for a party was unreasonable. Carol said it wasn't a party. It was a sacred celebration. I said sacred celebrations don't require Vera Wang dresses and champagne towers. She hung up on me. Tyler sent me a text an hour later saying I'd insulted Brittany's mother and owed her an apology. I didn't respond. Last month, Tyler and Brittany downgraded their wedding plans. I heard this from Marcus, who heard it from a mutual friend. They're doing a smaller venue, 150 guests instead of 250, a DJ instead of a band, a champagne toast instead of an open bar all night. Brittany posted on social media about how they were choosing to have an intimate celebration, focused on what really mattered. The comments were full of people congratulating them on being practical and not getting caught up in wedding industry expectations. I didn't comment. 2 weeks ago, an invitation arrived in my mail. Tyler and Brittany's wedding, next June. Ceremony at 4, reception to follow. The invitation was addressed just to me. No +1. There was a handwritten note inside from Tyler. It said, "Mom, despite everything, we want you there. Please come. We can put the past behind us." I haven't responded yet. I'm not sure I will. Marcus thinks I should go. He says Tyler is still my son, and weddings are important family events. He says holding a grudge doesn't help anyone. My friend Linda from the hospital thinks I shouldn't go. She says Tyler treated me appallingly, and a wedding invitation doesn't erase that. She says showing up rewards bad behavior. I don't know what I'll do. Some days I think I should go for the sake of family peace. Other days I think about that text message announcing they were selling my house, and I feel my blood pressure rise. What I do know is this: the house stays in the trust. Tyler will inherit his half when I'm gone, same as Marcus. But he will never pressure me into selling it. He will never move me into a basement suite so he can fund his lifestyle. He will never treat my life's work as his piggy bank. I worked night shifts for 46 years. I raised 2 boys alone. I paid off this house 1 mortgage payment at a time. Every room holds memories. My son's first steps, their birthday parties, their high school graduations, Christmas mornings, quiet evenings after they moved out when I'd sit in the kitchen and just breathe. This house is mine, not to sell, not to leverage, not to give away for someone else's dream wedding. Mine. Tyler texted me yesterday asking if I got the invitation. I texted back, yes. He asked if I was coming. I said I'd let him know. He said they needed a head count for catering. I didn't respond. Here's what I've learned. You can love your children completely and still protect yourself from them. You can be generous and still have boundaries. You can honor your role as a mother without sacrificing your dignity or your security. I don't regret the trust. I don't regret saying no. I don't regret any of it. Dorothy calls it protecting my assets from myself. I call it protecting my peace. Same thing, really. The house will be here when I'm gone. Tyler and Marcus will sell it and split the proceeds, and hopefully Tyler will understand someday why I did what I did. Or maybe he won't. That's not my responsibility anymore. I'm sleeping fine at night. I'm having coffee in my kitchen every morning. I'm doing the crossword puzzle and watering my garden and living my life in the house I earned. And nobody gets to take that away with a text message. What would you do in my situation? Thank you for listening to my story.